This is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and this time we're talking about What If, Season 2, Episode 9, What If Strange Supreme intervened?
You're trying to bring back Christine, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And if anyone could understand, it's you.
Strange, come to your senses.
I have to do this.
But this is madness.
Oh, come on, Peggy. You know you'd do the same thing for Steve.
Peggy. Peggy, please. I would never do this for Steve. And Steve Rogers wouldn't want me to. The cost is too high.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries. And we're here. We're talking about the finale of Season 2, What If Strange Supreme intervened? I am one of your very strange hosts, Chris.
I'm one of your other hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow Defenders. Welcome back. I am your third and final host, John. So, does that mean Stephen Strange is evil now?
Yes.
Well, Strange Supreme has always been evil in this show.
But he was redeemed.
Yeah.
And now he is irredeemed? Unredeemed.
Unredeemed, but then redeemed again, the small part that was his good self.
Yep. Yeah.
So he's the redeemable, strange, irredeemable? Yeah, because he was redeemed and then he was unredeemed and now he's re-redeemed. So
I think as we kind of referenced on the last podcast about the snake eating its tail, it may be that circle of redeemed, unredeemed, redeemed, unredeemed.
Yeah.
Redeemed, unredeemed.
Either that or it's kind of like the old Steve Ditko titles for Spider-Man, where it's the irredeemable Stephen Strange as the title of his comic.
Instead of the spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that.
Exactly.
Well, we are here talking about this finale, the culmination of Season 2 of What If, or the MCU's Marvel's What If. Yes, we have been podcasting each and every day. Well, I haven't, but my dynamic duo of co-hosts have been podcasting each and every episode of Season 2. So make sure you head on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com to check out all of them on the good and evil podcast catchers or your mysterious podcast player of choice. You can get us there across the multiverse that is Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your podcasts across the multiverse, you will find us. So just check on there or just head to tvpodcastindustries.com and you'll find all the links.
Absolutely. You'll also get the audio is also available up on YouTube, as always, just in case you want to find it over there. Some people listen to the podcast on YouTube, and apparently Google are moving all of their podcasts to YouTube during the year 2024. So all of our feeds will be up on YouTube by the end of this year. I currently have to manually put them up. So hopefully that will shorten my time frame for adding podcasts up there. So you can get them up there.
Yes.
But you're probably very sick of our voice by now, since we've been podcasting every day. So good news, if you didn't hear it, I'll say it in the last episode. When we get to Echo next week, we'll be doing one episode a week of Echo for 5 weeks. So you'll only have to listen to us once a week.
Yes. The unfortunate part of demanding day jobs, is causing us to make a good choice, a healthy work-life balance, if you will. Also just timings. 2024 is the year of we will not podcast daily anymore.
Exactly. It is our 10th anniversary of podcasting though this year. So starting out the year with 7 days or 9 days straight of podcasting is an interesting way to start that year, but we're not going to continue it.
Well, maybe for this coming Christmas, we could do the 12 days of podcasting.
Yeah. If the content slows down as much as it seems to be slowing down, we might be doing a rewatch of Daredevil season 1 to 3, every episode of that, plus all the Defender stuff, just to put them back in the feed again. We might do that later on in the year.
Yes. Or possibly, as I may have once mentioned, we could have continued and finish our Hannibal coverage.
Yeah, still 2 seasons of that we have never covered. Good stuff.
But that is still what if potential. And is yet so far away. Gentlemen, I think it's time we dive into our discussion of Season 2, Episode 9. What if Strange Supreme intervened? Derek, do you want to tell us who gave us what, where, when, and how?
Absolutely. Once again, executive producers for the show are Bryan Andrews, AC Bradley, and Brad Winderbaum, with Kevin Feige, head writer of the show for this season, AC Bradley. This episode was written by Matthew Chauncey, who wrote some of the other episodes this season as well. And this episode is directed, of course, by Bryan Andrews, who's directed all the episodes this season as well, other than episode 1.
Excellent stuff, and good job, people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the finale of What If Season 2, What If Strange Supreme intervened?
Sure. After meeting her in 1602, Strange Supreme takes Captain Carter to his Sanctum Infinitum, where he reveals that he's been capturing universe killers to atone for his sins, and asks for her help in capturing one who fled to a universe where Hydra used the Tesseract to destroy the world. Carter agrees and encounters Kahhori, who reveals that Strange has been capturing both universe killers as well as righteous heroes to feed the Forge, a contraption he built to resurrect his lost universe and bring back the love of his life, Christine Palmer. As Strange attempts to kill Kahhori, Captain Carter frees all his captives, allowing her and Kahhori to escape and find the Forge to destroy it. Amidst the chaos, the pair encounter Black Panther Killmonger, who Kahhori separates from his Infinity Armor, allowing Carter to use it along with the Infinity Stones to even the odds against Strange. At the Forge, the pair battle Strange as he tries to feed it with the collective powers of the superheroes and supervillains. They send their weapons to Captain Carter to use against Strange, while Kahhori sends them to their home realities. Strange is taken over by his demonic self, becoming Demon Strange, and while Carter separates them, they reabsorb into him and take over Strange's body once again. As the Forge collapses, Strange sacrifices himself and his counterpart to it. The Watcher returns Kahhori home and brings Carter to Strange's restored universe, revealing he succeeded in resurrecting Christine Palmer, though he can never be reborn into it. Carter asks the Watcher to show her the many wonders of the multiverse before taking her home.
Excellent. A very Doctor Who ending, almost, to this episode of What If, or this season of What If.
Well, that's true, yeah. I just got companion.
I got that moment where she feels like, let's just go on one last adventure, Doctor. Take me through the wonders of the multiverse.
Yeah, and I was wondering, is that Loki's Tree of Life from the ending of Loki Season 2?
Mm-hmm. It does very much look like it, yeah.
Yes, exactly. That very much feels like that.
Which was kind of a nice little touch, actually, to see that.
Absolutely, especially only a month and a half after that show ended on Disney Plus to have it in animation here at the end of What If. So, so they must have known about that a long time ago to be able to put it into the show.
And does that mean that season 3 of What If, that we know is in production and is coming, is going to begin to weave multiverse and multi-timelines? I wonder.
It could do.
Maybe.
Because it needs weaving, I think.
It does.
It needs a bit.
And I wonder if the Weaver may show his face.
Yeah.
The god of stories. Yeah. We will see.
That is true.
Now, Tom Hiddleston has appeared in many episodes of the 2 seasons of the shows, so very likely he'll be back to voice the character in season 3. But it is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because the first season of the show really took very specific inspiration from various movies in the MCU. The second season, not as much. And particularly this episode and the last episode don't really take a jumping off point from the MCU. They take a jumping off point from What If season 1 and this season.
Yeah, that's true. And also referencing other movies as well. I mean, certainly the first 3 had heavy non-MCU references, like in particular the Nebula one. I mean, that was Blade Runner with Nebula, effectively, you know?
And the Happy Hogan episode, which was just Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's kind of been an interesting sort of thing, really.
Yeah, it's like the shackles have been released a little bit in season 2. I always say that about a second season of a show, that you get a bit more creative when you're able to, when you've had a season of the characters doing the basic setup, and then the second season allows you to kind of broaden your wings a bit more.
Yeah.
Seems to be the case of What If.
And hopefully then season 3 is them really flexing those wings.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some much more similar to the comic book version of What If, which will bring in characters in completely different situations that we haven't seen before.
Fingers crossed, we can only hope. So gentlemen, let's jump into this. We have a very particular style of covering these top threes of throughout this kind of piece. It is slightly broken. It is completely broken the last episode. So we're going to try as much as we can to bring it back. We've kind of already discussed point 1, which is, what if we had seen this all before? Where we kind of go through the cinematic universe movies that it's calling upon. And really that is just season 1 of kind of What If.
Yeah.
That's what it's pulling from.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the only other thing you could say is there are so many characters from other movies there in terms of the supervillains or the superheroes. You know, we see Vision, we see that you could almost say, well, maybe it's everything, but that's only because Strange has created this Sanctum Infinitum, which is a library of those big heroes or villains from the other universes. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm playing with you, of course, saying that. It is really that it's following on from season 1 and the Guardians of the Multiverse.
And in particular, the Strange Supreme episode in season 1, where he lost his soul to trying to bring back Christine Palmer. That's the big jumping off point for Strange character. And we see it in the opening sequence of the episode. We see the Watcher recalling the tale of Peggy Carter, how she became Captain Carter and what that did to her. You know, he calls out her loss fueled her to become a hero. No matter what situation she's in, she's a hero now. And as opposed to Doctor Strange, his loss fueled him to become the villain, the big villain of the series, really. He's lost his soul, and in the attempt to bring back the universe and bring back Christine Palmer, he's going to do anything he can, which means destroying multiple other universes or bringing in multiple other characters from different universes.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Watcher just touching, you know, doing that touchstone here, giving it, you know, an underline, putting it in italics and bold and a different font. You know, both of these have been on difficult journeys of love. You know, I think that was certainly from episode 8. You really got that sense of melancholy, and hopelessness ultimately of Peggy and Steve's relationship. We got that with Stephen Strange and the length he would go to try and have that loving relationship with Christine Palmer in season 1. And so them sitting down in a ye olde tavern, in 1602, just discussing this idea, you know, that Peggy is this big multi-dimensional hero, and seemingly at this moment in time, so is Stephen Strange, you know, to face a danger. I think the Watcher says it in a way that makes it sort of ambiguous, but, you know, to face a danger to the multiverse, which we assume they're both going to fight it together, these two heroes, you know, but you're right. Ultimately, one is the hero of the piece, the other is the villain of the piece.
And it does say,
I kind of quite like that.
Yeah, and the Watcher actually says 2 heroes joined together to fight a great threat to the multiverse.
Yes.
Those 2 heroes are actually Captain Carter and Kahhori.
Exactly.
Here, not Stephen Strange.
Exactly.
I did love that, though, and to kind of continue on that jumping off point from season 1, I do really like that Stephen Strange tries to compare his relationship with Christine Palmer to the relationship between Peggy and Steve Rogers. And there's no comparison between the two. Like, if you think about all the appearances we've had of Christine Palmer from What If, from the Multiverse of Madness and the original Doctor Strange movie, while they do have a great relationship, at some point, she always leaves him. She always moves
she
on
makes
to somebody
a
else.
sacrifice.
She chooses to stay away from Stephen Strange. The way we met her in Multiverse of Madness, she was marrying somebody else in the Prime universe. Then when he meets her in the other universe, she decides to stay away from him and stay back from him. So there is no comparison between those relationships. I love that moment when he calls that out to Peggy. You would do this for Steve Rogers. You would do this for your love.
Yeah.
You wouldn't judge me for this. That. And Peggy says, not only would I not do it for Steve, he would never ask me to do it for him. Just like Christine would never ask Stephen Strange to do it for him, for her.
But remember, you say they're incomparable. In the What If universe, that episode of Strange Supreme was that they did make it together, but then he lost her.
Mm-hmm.
So they were, they were together. He felt he had it and then lost it because of the accident.
Yeah.
And try to regain it. But you're right, absolutely, as well. So, I like this jumping off point. I like the idea of a Sanctum Infinitum as well. That's pretty cool.
That was very cool,
for sure. And you see that he's collecting these universe, killers, but one has escaped. And this is where we feel this is, the joining of the two heroes uniting when, in fact, once Peggy, is back in the Sanctum Infinitum, having been brought there by Strange, with Kahhori, realizes, quite quickly, that it's Stephen Strange who is in fact the multiverse killer.
Absolutely.
Rather than the universe killer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's evil now.
It is.
Quite like a bit of evil Strange, actually. It's quite good.
Yeah, it was fun in season 1 and fun now again. We have Demon Strange in here as well, just like we did in season 1. I do like how, quickly Peggy realizes what the problem is for Stephen Strange, that, you've captured all these monsters and one of them has escaped. He goes, how would you know that? She's like, well, gremlins, aliens, Jurassic Park, basically any story of capturing very powerful creatures together, one always escapes. It always happens. So,
absolutely.
So that leads you to believe that Kahhori was captured by Stephen Strange, was in the Sanctum Infinitum, and then then got out. So that's quite interesting.
The other thing I like as well is the other side that has ruined Strange here is that he's, as she walks into this huge space of the Sanctum Infinitum, she's like, have you been here alone? It's like, you've spent too long alone, and isolated, with only your crazy mystical thoughts to keep you company. So no wonder you have re-entered the world of madness.
Yes.
In that sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I do love that term, crazy mystical thoughts. That is, instead of like troubling thoughts or thought distortions or anything. No, it's your magical thoughts. Those ones, the wacky, timey-wimey versions.
Horoscopes.
Yes.
You've been reading horoscopes again.
Absolutely.
Oh, well.
What if Christine if I could bring her back with the waxing moon in Jupiter's 12th degree of apostolate? Who knows? I thought this was really fun premise. And again, you brought it there. It's a very simple premise. Jurassic Park, Gremlins. If you bring them all together, usually one escapes and it breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously now, again, the actual, the zookeeper here is the evil one. But overall, it's a fun, initial, easy to understand setup.
Exactly.
Very simple.
Yeah, yeah. And we normally do have what's the small change here. And really, this is got hundreds of changes across all of reality because he's taken all of these world killers and a lot of heroes from out of time. There are so many on screen in here. I've watched this episode a couple of times now, and you literally catch everybody from young Peter Quill's in there, loads of versions of different characters. There's multiple Thors in there. There's Rocket Raccoon's in there. There's loads and loads of characters, not just Guardians of the Galaxy. That's just the ones that popped to my mind.
Well, the Vision as well.
Vision's in there as well. But interestingly, the AC Bradley, the showrunner for the show, says that they basically told the animation studio to use every single asset that they've ever created for What If, no matter whether the character had featured heavily in an episode or not, and put them on screen during this episode so that we had featured every single type of character, even some that were developed and weren't shown on screen before. So I love that idea.
What does Peggy says? Maybe it wasn't such a good idea doing a prison break in in the prison.
The prison break is fantastic, though. It leads to some amazing moments in this episode.
Well, I do. Yeah, I mean, like it's interesting. It's like I do feel this kind of came out of nowhere that we were revisiting Strange Supreme in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that kind of sort of knocked me here. I think season 1, even though they were all separate, they came together in a way that you kind of went, oh, okay, like I can see that all coming together. And Guardians of the Multiverse, that sort of team up, even if it wasn't entirely related, it was that the Watcher saw their potential to be this grouping.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, I wasn't expecting to revisit the Strange and Christine Palmer thing again, in terms of that's what he's done. But I guess it comes to his crazy mystical thoughts and being on his own, and so it kind of took me out of it a little bit, I have to say.
Yeah, because Peggy incorrectly thinks that the reason he's doing it is to pay his dues for what he'd done.
Yeah.
That he's been a guardian of the multiverse, and because he's done that, he's trying to pay back by using his powers to take all of these threats out of the universe, something that the Watcher would never do, but she's wrong.
Yeah, and because he was redeemed in the other one, and that's kind of all been lost because he's been too long on his own, staring into space and his crazy mystical thoughts. So it is that kind of thing. But I mean, I loved the epicness. It felt epic with all those different characters. When we see Kahhori and Carter running to the forge, where Strange is effectively going to feed this forge with all the power of these superheroes. I love the fact that they're intercepted by Zombie Wanda from season 1. You have then Hela turning up and turning the zombies green. Not that they recycle. No. Well, actually, they do. They recycle humans. They
are recycling humans.
Yeah, they munch away. And you have Thanos with his Infinity Gauntlets, and then the important one being Killmonger with his Infinity Armor, which was really cool.
And he's the one that takes out Thanos as well.
Yeah.
So once again, another episode of What If, Thanos being taken out at the end of it. Is it 6 of 9 episodes that Thanos has been taken out this season? It feels like it.
Yeah, Thanos is on a hiding to nothing, I think.
Yeah,
he is.
They're trying to, like, if they had done it as Kang, it would have been, ooh, we've seen Thanos get his ass whooped a few times.
Yes, well,
we need to move forward.
We don't want to go to the What If version of Kang the Conqueror, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Too soon.
I kind of feel like we'll be going to the What If version of Kang at some point later in the MCU anyway.
Yeah.
At some point. What if Kang was played by a different actor? I think is where we're going to.
Wow.
What if Kang was actually as good as everyone kind of originally thought it was going to be?
Yeah. Oh, sting. But yeah, I love this whole battle. The prison break was cool. And I think the epic battle between Strange, Peggy, and Kahhori in the forge.
Strange Peggy.
Yeah, I did think it was just really good. Again, I think the action sequences in this animation have been so good.
Absolutely.
And, whether it's, you've got the multiple strangers and Peggy kind of going, oh, great idea. She uses the red Infinity Stone to change reality. I love
multiple Peggies.
Yeah, I love her using the shield as well. Like you were saying about her and Steve, in the last episode. I loved how she used it with the different Infinity Stones, particularly the Space Stone from the Tesseract, where she could, just move it through space to hit him on the back of the head.
Absolutely.
I loved all these different aspects of it, and I thought it was really epic.
Agreed. Very quickly, I enjoyed the fights. I enjoyed what it had, and that ending of the yo-yo effect of the feeding of the forge. where they were basically all the guys were being teleported in, they're being teleported out.
That was a good gag, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kahhori's usage of the Tesseract power she has, kind of like teleported him left, right, and center, and everything. It was just beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of an issue with the recycling of Strange Supreme, because he was redeemed and now he's been unredeemed, and I think you could have done something different. Like, that could have been not Strange Supreme. That could have been a what if different version of, and then you have our Strange Supreme from season 1 comes in. Like, you can do that.
Yeah.
So just for me, it was just.
I am a bit with you on that. I mean, I think I kind of wish it had been signposted a little bit better, and maybe we'd had Peggy capturing some of these supposed universe killers.
Yeah.
And then you have the rug pulled. You know, I mean, I know she was being recruited to do that, but I would have liked some signpost that we were coming back to this. It felt a jolt.
Rushed. Yes,
It
exactly.
wasn't rushed, it more just a jolt, I guess. But.
Well, it's just because we had seen him in with the Kahhori episode.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was like, oh, like, there's more to this. It's just, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, I think I'm the same on that a bit.
See, I don't agree. I love the twist here because we saw Strange arriving at the end of the Kahhori episode, an episode that didn't feature much connection with the MCU. The only real connection was at the beginning with the connection to Asgard, and at the end where Strange Supreme comes in. You kind of go, ooh, interesting. I wonder what she's being recruited for this season. Like, is he the new Watcher setting up a new Guardians of the Multiverse? So when you find out in this episode, actually, he was hunting. He was trying to take Kahhori out of the universe because she's so powerful. I love that. I love that twist. And why I like it even more is because if you remember when we came out of What If Season 1, we were going into the Multiverse of Madness, the next Doctor Strange movie, thinking when we saw trailers for that was going to be Supreme Strange. Strange Supreme was going to be in that movie, and he wasn't. It was a different version in that movie. But we all thought we were going to see this villainous version of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but we didn't. So I like that they've taken the idea from season 1 and brought him in here. And don't forget, I know we're talking all around this episode, but don't forget at the end of the episode, Strange Supreme is redeemed properly. He takes himself out of the universe so that he can recreate it and bring back Christine Palmer, and he can never be in that universe. So he has accomplished his goal in one way, but he's not able to live his life with her. He has redeemed himself and sacrificed himself at the end of the episode. So I think it's a good arc of a story for the character.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you know, coming back to that, I think as soon as you get Demon Strange, like, I absolutely loved that. I loved all the demons coming out, the ones that we saw him absorbing to try and get Christine Palmer back in season 1 of What If, and then them being knocked out of him by Peggy, and then them reabsorbing back into him. And, you know, he says, you know, my grief is out of control, and, you know, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. But then the demon says, but we do. You know, I thought that was really, really good. I think the imagery of it, the epicness of it was so good. Absolutely. And then, you know, as he falls into the forge, you kind of almost like Thing-like, where you see his head coming out to, you know, make sure that they stay on target and fall into the forge. Mm-hmm. And then the Watcher confirming, you know, that that good in him, he did the right thing, and with his sacrifice effectively to save all the realities, and ultimately brought back Christine Palmer, who he will never see or love or care for or be in a relationship with. So I guess, yes, he's redeemed, for sure. No, I mean, I still like the episode a lot. It just took me a while to process it, because I didn't think it was going to be on that topic still.
Yeah, I agreed.
I think that was mainly it, but I loved the whole sweep of the episode and the epicness. I just thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I think it was just the initial, even on the second watch, I still was like, I think I enjoyed it more, because I knew what was happening.
Yeah.
But it felt like a jolt from everything that we'd been,
Yeah.
So that was the only thing.
I did feel in the first watch, I felt it was just a punchy, fighty episode, and there wasn't much to it. But actually, I think the second watch, I think the story hung together much better for me. There is one other change we probably should talk about. One other small change to the universe that's really called out here. When we get to Kahhori, when Captain Carter goes to her world in North Dakota, I think she's in at this stage. It's called out by the Watcher that in this world, the experiment that was supposed to happen with Steve Rogers and where Peggy Carter was, the bomb that's set off by the Hydra agent was a massive explosion that killed both Peggy and Steve, leading to the rise of the Red Skull. We see Mount Rushmore with just the head of Red Skull on there.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Especially because we called out last episode the couple of little appearances of Red Skull in that episode. In this episode, suddenly you have the head of Red Skull and Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
So Hydra have taken over this world, but Kahhori is still alive in here. So she seems to be very much out of time here. Kahhori would have been about the 1500s when she went to visit Queen Isabella and make that demand of a peaceful world. But now this is happening sometime after Red Skull has taken over the world, after World War II. So that's quite interesting. She's very much out of time. We talked about Kahhori's power set back in the earlier episode because she's getting the power from the Tesseract. She's likely to have powers similar to Captain Marvel. But here we see her go up against Scarlet Witch, who also got her powers from the Tesseract. And we see her running like Quicksilver, who also got his powers from the Tesseract. So lots of different little powers being added in there. And the last time we saw her, we heard her talking in Spanish to Queen Isabella. Here, absolutely no problem to her to be talking in English to Captain Carter. So, obviously, along with the Tesseract powers comes a translator, universal translator.
Or a fast learner.
Well, absolutely.
Or a very fast learner. Or a very slow learner if it's 500 years since the last episode.
But
maybe she took us 500 years to learn.
Absolutely.
English.
But I love that the bit of Mohawk language that was used was the curse for Stephen Strange.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was a nice little touch as well. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the team up of Kahhori and Captain Carter in the Sanctum. Sort of working their way through, real great team up, and great matchup with then Doctor Strange at the end in that fight. So I thought they really worked well together, those two. And so I really like to see that sort of in the future, these two sort of teaming up again, I think that would be really good.
No, and I do hope that Kahhori gets an on-screen, real-life kind of live-action portrayal. And even if not, just more on season 3 of What If. What if Kahhori was in modern-day MCU, and that's the next What If. So should they bring her back further and further in, very much like Captain Carter, the woman out of time, as well.
Or maybe in a week's time when Echo comes out, which is set in the Choctaw Nation, maybe they will have a visitor from the Mohawk Nation coming in live action.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be interesting.
We might have Kahhori meeting up with Echo. What do you think?
That would be really
Wouldn't
good.
that be cool, that close to these episodes? Maybe that's the whole reason behind why they released these in 9 days, so they can get them out in time for Echo to come
as
out.
well,
Cool
I mean, even just like, Kahhori in episode 7 says to her brother, we need tales of this, and whether there's some tale about
that would be
Kahhori.
cool.
Yeah, that's passed through other nations within the First Peoples. That'd be very cool. Yeah. There you go.
Ooh.
So maybe that's how it's changed the universe forever.
Possibly, yeah.
Another way it's changed the universe forever is that it is the end of the season.
Well, yeah.
It wraps up the
that's
season
true.
and the traveling of, because we do end with Captain Carter and the Watcher in front of the tree of the universe, where the universe is, or the multiverse, or the tree of life, that Loki in season 2 of Loki creates as the new god of stories, the god weaving together the multiverses into a singular stream. Because that very firmly puts it in a place of where we understand now in terms of the iconography of that, the tree that has been set up. So really firmly planting What If in our understanding of the MCU.
Yeah, firmly planted the tree. You're right.
Yeah.
Anything else that would have changed in the universe forever after this story? I kind of mentioned it earlier on, but the big change in the What If universe is that we no longer have Strange Supreme. He will not be coming back. That is the end of the character, I guess. He's gone into the Forge and been melted down. So.
Unless some spirit form has percolated into the newly created universe.
I guess with infinite possibilities, there is maybe a Strange Supremes. So we'll have the backing singers for coming back.
That'd be great in the bar with no name, the mystical bar in the Marvel universe. Yeah.
Just singing backing vocals in there.
That'd be great.
Anything else about the episode, guys, that you want to talk about?
No, nothing from my side.
No, nothing from mine. I have one small one, which is the Hulk with the kind of angelic headdress that kind of gives some of the swords and things to Captain Carter. Very interesting one. Trying to figure out what that What If is. Assuming what if the Hulk was a Valkyrie, or what if Valkyrie was a Hulk? Maybe, or something like that. It was a bit of a weird, definitely interesting to see, and would like to see that.
Yeah, originally I just thought it was a World War Hulk, but you're right, there is some kind of Asgardian connection there, because the weapon that he throws to Captain Carter is Gungnir, Odin's weapon that was called out earlier on in the season, that it was his all-powerful weapon, so that's the weapon that he passes on, so definitely some connection with Asgard there. So maybe that's something we'll see in season 3.
We see lots of weapons, as well as Hela's crown and the 10 rings, and Meow Meow as well.
We do.
Always bringing back Meow Meow.
Kahhori gets the 10 rings and uses them as well, doesn't she? She's the one that puts them on, which is very cool. It's been interesting this season. One of the things that's been a kind of a through line is how far in the past they're going with the storylines. We had medieval China with the 10 Rings story. We had Kahhori coming out during the Conquistador era of the New World, and we had 1602, all really historical pieces there. And here we have Kahhori finding the 10 Rings, which I thought was quite interesting. So unlike Hela, she gets to use them this time. So that was quite cool. As I mentioned, there are literally hundreds of Easter eggs in this episode. As I see Bradley has said, there's so much in there that they put in because they thought this was possibly the last ever episode of What If. They didn't know it had been confirmed for a third season at the time when they made the episode. So they said, let's put everything in the episode. So that's on purpose as it scrolls past hundreds of characters on the screen. But one of the ones I did really like was as Hela came out and took control of the zombie army, which I thought was awesome, using her powers because she is, of course, the goddess of death. I love that she is in control of the dead. That was really cool. And then she has her battle against Surtur. That's what distracts her from trying to get Kahhori and Captain Carter to bend the knee to her. Also love Kahhori's response to that. The last person that tried to get me to bend the knee, it didn't end well for them, which was Queen Isabella.
Yeah.
So, a nice little callback to earlier on in the season. But yeah, really, really loved this episode. Thought there was some great stuff in here. I think you could watch it many, many times and pick up loads more Easter eggs. But, gentlemen, time for our defense. John, do you defend Season 2, Episode 9, the finale of What If? What if Strange Supreme intervened?
I do defend this episode. I give it 4 yo-yo heroes out of 5. Yeah, I just really enjoyed sort of the epicness of this battle, which comes down to the personal between Carter and Stephen Strange and their different reasons, but ultimately the same goal of love has turned one selfless, the other selfish, in terms of their objectives. I loved the epicness of the battle, seeing all the different Easter eggs, like Killmonger back as well, and Zombie Wanda, certainly 2 standouts. thought the whole sequence with Demon Strange and the sort of the absorbed demons from season 1 being knocked out by Peggy and then reabsorbed and all that, I thought was really, really good. So yeah, I'd give this 4 yo-yo heroes out of 5.
Fantastic. Chris, how about yourself? Do you defend this episode of What If Season 2, the finale?
I do defend it. I am slightly probably around the same as John in terms if I was to score it. Just for me, it was the fact that we had a redeemed Strange and then an unredeemed Strange, and then, as you rightly pointed out, a redeemed again, a re-redeemed, a re-redeemer, if you will, of Strange at the end. So overall, I enjoyed it. It was, for me, I was just wondering if it was a bit not rushed again, just kind of very quick for a 30-minute. But overall, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the Easter egg breakdowns of the kitchen sink and everything in between that was thrown into this episode. Derek, what about yourself? Do you defend this finale of What If Season 2?
Absolutely, I defend this. I think I'm slightly higher up on the episode after watching it the third time today, because there's just so much going on screen. I love how these two characters work together, particularly Kahhori and Captain Carter. I think they're really cool working together versus Doctor Strange. I thought the setup for this was really good, and how the episode played out was really good. And again, throwing everything at the screen was great fun. I caught so much my second and third viewing of this episode. So again, like yourself, Chris, looking forward to catching up on all the things we may have missed while we've been waiting to record the podcast. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. And overall, a really good finale for this season of What If. A better season to me than season 1 of What If. I think it's standing on its own 2 feet, still telling tales of that first major arc of the MCU, but at least this season we got a bit of Shang-Chi coming in, and Black Widow coming in this season. Hopefully next season we'll expand on that even more, and we'll get some connections into some of the TV shows and some of the other appearances of characters as we go along through the new history of the MCU. So that'd be cool, or even some very much standalone stories. That'd be cool.
Excellent stuff. So it is to ask, what if we got some feedback?
Well, we do have some feedback.
Excellent.
Of course. We have got our first email in from Coffee and Vodka, who says, "Greetings, fellow restorational defenders. A fairly straightforward conclusion to a season of a few intertwining themes and MacGuffins. Don't know if this is better than season 1, but it was more in line with the concept of the What If comics. We were introduced to 2.5 new heroes in Kahhori, Hulk Hogan, and Athrax, and treated to improved animation. All in all, pretty fantastic. Influence on this episode seemed to include season 1, Lord of the Rings,
Oh, yes.
No Way Home, Loki season 2, The Butterfly Effect, and whatever I may have missed with only one viewing. But speaking of what we did see versus what we didn't, lots of Loki, including the Tree of Life, Space Life, and no Kang. This may speak volumes in the future direction of the MCU. So is Kang still king, or who do you think the new big bad is? Could it be Doctor Doom, Galactus, Loki, Squirrel Girl, Titan loose in all the right places? A highly enjoyable episode and season. 4 supreme sacrifices, old friends, and Lords of the Ten Rings out of 5 for the episode. 4 watching Toms out of 5 for the season. Peace and take care, Coffee and Vodka."
Yes, thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Yeah, I get the Lord of the Rings. The Balrog reference with Gandalf as I think it's the Demon Strange and Carter falling into the forge. That was really good.
Absolutely, and even the final moment with Stephen pulling the demon into the forge himself. It's kind of like Gollum pulling the ring in, isn't it?
That is true. Yeah.
For me, I would love to see Squirrel Girl being the ultimate evil baddie. That would, for me, just out of left field, just do that. Just Marvel, no one will see it coming. Everyone will be like, "Oh my god, it was the craziest thing ever."
It would be.
Anna Kendrick just walks on screen.
That would be fantastic. As long as it's not Galactus. I think that Fantastic Four,
Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah, just ruined all of that for me.
No, I'm pinning my hopes on them creating a great version of the Fantastic Four, and it may still include Galactus. I don't think anything should be off the table for Marvel. Yeah. Hopefully they do a really good job of bringing in Fantastic Four's evil characters. But yes, Doctor Doom, absolutely adore him. I'd love to see him involved, and he was heavily involved in the multiverse story in Marvel. So, yeah, I think if we're going to go for a new big bad, it's Doctor Doom. I'd still love to see the big twist being that when Loki pulls all the universes together, he goes back to his bad old ways and becomes the big bad of the universe. Tom Hiddleston on form as the big bad would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Very much so. He is always a goodie and a great baddie.
Yeah,
exactly.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Over on Facebook, we also got some feedback. First up, Lindsay Lowis says, this episode was absolutely epic, but I'm very sad that this is the last we'll see of Strange Supreme. Or is it? He is one of my favourites from the first season, and I love the powers and moral ambiguity that he brought to the Guardians of the Multiverse. The way his arc ends is very symbolic, from wanting to bring Christine back out of his selfish desire to ultimately sacrificing himself and all of the powers he gained to give Christine and the rest of the universe another chance. I look forward to rewatching the season and eagerly await a new set of alternate scenarios for a new season.
Absolutely, totally with you, Lindsay. That's it's such a cool arc for Doctor Strange in this episode, particularly, and what a way to finish, at least sacrificing himself. I know we've mentioned it a lot of the time in the podcast, but if you've only been joining us for What If, you may not know Doctor Strange is John's favorite character. He's been reading all of the comic books for most of his life, so it's nice to have him redeemed at the end of the episode, even though, as you say, he was unredeemed at the beginning of it, but at least by the end, you have a Stephen Strange willing to sacrifice himself for Christine and the whole multiverse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Always for the greater good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lindsay. We also have some feedback from Bjorn Wind, who had this to say. Loved it, though I hope we got to see more White Hala or someone else from the previous episodes. Of course, beside Captain Carter and Kahhori. All those universe killers in one room fighting could have been more epic, but maybe that just requires a rewatch. How many of the characters we got to see in this season will make an appearance in Secret Wars, do you think? Thanks, Bjorn. I think they will. I think with Secret Wars coming up, I think they may not be major characters. The only one major, I think, potentially could be Kahhori and Captain Carter, really kind of turning up in Secret Wars.
Without a doubt.
But some of the others in the background, if they are going to do a major endgame style finale where you can have multiversal kind of Avengers popping up in portals going for a big fight, I think that is where we would see, say, for example, a young Peter Quill coming in, that type of thing, the Celestial Peter Quill, or the Goliath that was from Ant-Man to also in this. Bill Foster.
Lars Fishburne.
That Goliath. Yeah.
I could see that too. I think this the canvas is wide open, and when you've got Michael Waldron writing it, who is a really experienced writer now in the MCU, the tap's wide open. They can do whatever they want.
So. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Bjorn.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bjorn. Also over on Facebook, Joel Sharpton says, really enjoyed this one. Hadn't guessed that Strange would be our big bad this year, though in retrospect, I probably should have. The fights were all outstanding, though. I do wish our finales got closer to an hour so that more of them could have breathed a little.
Yeah, I think I can get that for this one, actually, Joel.
Yeah.
It would have been good to have seen sort of Peggy almost implicated a bit, by, I mean, I know she was in a sense, but that was the realization despite going off to sort of collect Kahhori. Maybe one or two others we'd seen them get, something like that until she was asked to go after Kahhori. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it was really enjoyable. And certainly I hadn't guessed that Strange would be the big bad either.
Yeah, me neither.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Also on Facebook, Heather Wallace says, a friend's betrayal always hurts so much more, and I felt so bad for Peggy having to go against Strange. Seeing all the heroes and villains throw their weapons to Peggy was epic, and it was wonderful to see the Tree of Life from Loki as the scenic way round. I've really enjoyed this series. The art has been luminous and the stories are interesting scenarios, but please, please, please give Peggy some happiness. Absolutely, Heather. She needs to have a good old dollop of happiness. Or maybe Strange gave her some at the start of this episode with a glass of whiskey. Happiness in a glass.
I did like that setup actually at the beginning, just to kind of show that they are friends, to have them sit down together in the bar where he brings in some single malt whiskey for her. I just think it was a nice way to start the episode when you're going to take them on this journey together throughout the episode, to kind of set them up as friends. Do you know, it's an interesting one with Peggy Carter, because after Endgame, she does get that happy ending. She does have Steve return back to her and they have their long life together and they both have that happy ending, and that's never undone with these stories in the What If universe. I kind of think it's okay to leave this Captain Carter in this position at the moment. It should be the end of her story. That should be the final time we see Captain Carter. Then she goes circuitously back to meet up with Steve Rogers, and that has her happy ending in the future. If she gets her happy ending now, then she won't continue being the awesome hero that she is. So
no, exactly. Yeah. She can pop back through her Tesseract portal from the beginning of season 1.
It's like how, Captain America went lame after he'd gone back to have his life with her.
No, he just didn't continue to fight.
Sorry, old, yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks so much, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Also on Facebook, Harvey Locust asks, do you think The Watcher shows Peggy both seasons of Loki or just the second season?
I love it. Harvey. Hopefully just the first.
Well, he has to show the second, definitely. So maybe show the first episode of the second season and the last episode of the second season, the good ones, and the first season. Yeah, maybe did that.
Or just you remember that Disney Plus now do the actual Legends run through of those certain characters. They'll just do that for Loki.
3 or 4 minutes.
All the way up, done. 12 minutes, done. Here's everything you need to know about why there's a big massive tree in the multiverse. There you go.
Done, and done. Excellent. Thanks, Harvey.
Thanks, Harvey.
And ending our feedback from Facebook, Jeff Childs had this to say. Really strong episode and season. I'm looking forward to what they do with Captain Carter next season. I would also love to see Kahhori in a live action movie. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I think we're all there. I think everyone has said it. They're very much down now for a Kahhori real life live action, be it movie, TV show, or just appearance. And who knows, maybe we have stumbled upon the reason everything is happening as quick as it is with Echo and What If. Maybe she is referenced, or the very final episode of Echo is her meeting Kahhori, or just someone in war paint. Yeah. We will never know, but maybe we will.
You never know. It'd be really interesting to see her though. I'm hoping that that she's got that entry now into the MCU that we'll see her hopefully in the future.
Absolutely. I really hope so as well, Jeff, as well. And to see more Captain Carter. I mean, obviously we did get Captain Carter in Multiverse of Madness, but also the demise of Captain Carter in quick succession. So hopefully we'll get to see her coming through in the movies as well.
Yeah, back again in a future movie. That'd be cool. We got 2 last bits of feedback in for What If just after we'd recorded the final episode. First up, Meryl Smith sent us an email over on feedback at TV Podcast Industries. She says, what if Wenwu was down bad for Hela? I mean, I get it. Odin's parenting style needs some work. Like maybe pick a better time to banish them because that always backfires on you in some way. Or don't banish them because that's always an option too. Another what if idea. What if Loki killed Odin in the first Thor film? That would have brought Hela out sooner. Or what if Odin didn't banish Hela? Maybe there was a different compromise that could have been made, and there's a version of the timeline in which all of the siblings could have gotten to know each other and been raised together. How different would that change the world? Great stuff, Meryl. Yeah, it's interesting actually for for the 1602 episode, we see all three of the siblings together, working together, I guess, with Queen Hela on the throne. Doesn't last very long, about 6 minutes of the episode, maybe 3 minutes of the episode. But interestingly, I suppose, since Odin did banish Hela to Earth, she becomes the goddess of life and saves the 9 realms, giving them all their freedom. So while he is a terrible parent by banishing each of his children, it turns out quite well for Hela in that episode. So that's quite interesting. Thanks so much for your feedback, Meryl. There's some interesting ideas for some other what ifs. Let's see what happens in the next season if they can get Kate Blanchett back to do another Hela episode. That'd be interesting. Finally, Victor Sellers says, "Greetings, Defenders. What a fantastic finale for a fantastic series. I must vote the What If series as the best product since Moon Knight. Haley and Jeffrey absolutely shine. The recapping of season 1 was a masterpiece. The Heartbreak Kid, Supreme Strange, needs to go away once and for all. I nearly lost it when the zombies showed up. I did lose it when the heroes tossed Peggy and Kahhori all their accoutrements. I was also intrigued to see Yggdrasil in the final scene. I must compliment the producers, writers, animators, and cast for creating a truly special series. Looking forward to season 3. Excelsior, Victor Von Doom." Great stuff, Victor. I'm glad you enjoyed this season of What If. It's been a real pleasure watching these 9 episodes. Been some great stories in there. Really excited to see how they continue the story. And yeah, I know you're saying you lost it when the zombies showed up. It's going to be really intriguing to see how they do the special event series Marvel Zombies, which I presume will feature Scarlet Witch as the leader of the zombies for that season. But it's going to be quite difficult since most of them don't talk in this show, in the What If version at least of Marvel Zombies. They do in the comics, from what I remember. Yeah, they do. So that'll be interesting to see. Best product since Moon Knight. That's a high bar. Moon Knight was one of the best series that Marvel did. But it has been a lot of fun, I guess, taking those jumping off points from that great series of movies from the MCU is really helpful, I suppose, for the show as well. Thanks so much for your feedback, Victor. You can always get in contact with us by emailing us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or join us on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for joining us for this epic 9-day session of podcasting.
Yes, indeed.
And thanks, John, for putting up with me for all those 9 days. And Chris, I know you can only do about 5 of them, or 4 of them, putting up with us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I swear I did the 9 days. It's the What If Chris did full 9 days.
There you go.
That is what I'm epically building. There's another universe right now where Chris did all of them.
You would have a gravelly, sexy voice like me.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. I'm Batman. I mean, I'm a man who's been by a bat. I mean, my parents are killed. I mean, Martha. Oh, forget it.
But thank you so much once again for joining us. We will be back in the MCU next week with Echo, the first episode of the 5-episode events series spinning out from Hawkeye. And don't forget, as I mentioned earlier on this season, make sure you've got your settings set to mature, because you won't be able to watch it otherwise. This is going to be a blood-filled battering of a season. So
this is mature cheese type stuff.
Well, violent, not cheese, John. Hopefully.
Well, it could be like Swiss. We talked about cheese already. If you like ones with hull, you've got your Swiss cheese. Or if you like something a bit blue and dark and aged, you can go for a nice blue cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Right. I was just trying to wrap up the episode. So thanks very much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time.
Talk to you again soon. And tell us what your favourite cheese is.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you so much, fellow Defenders, as always, for joining us for our Marvel series. Until our next one, which is Echo. Keep watching, keep listening, and keep defending.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.